everyone! Welcome to LeBron Pantry Recipe!
This is LeBron!
Today, we're going to make Korean radish kimchi. In Korean means 깍두기. It's one of my favorites. We never made radish kimchi in the past. It's our first try. But we found two recipes from one celebrity chef. It's called Paik Jongwon from Korea. And also another Korean YouTuber is called JohnCook. We're gonna try both recipes and see which recipe we like the most. Let's get started!
We're gonna make JohnCook's recipe first, and we have 2 Korean radishes. You'll only be able to find this at an Asian grocery store. 5 tablespoons of coarsely ground gochugaru, finely ground red pepper. This is a kimchi red pepper powder. I don't know if it's really different than any other red pepper powder you're gonna find, but we're using that. We're gonna use the anchovy fish sauce, 6 tablespoons of sugar, a tablespoon of salt, glutinous rice flour, water, Sprite, 8 tablespoons of finely minced garlic. In JohnCook's video, he says that a lot of people think that making radish kimchi is a very difficult thing to do, but he says that it's as easy for an adult to do it as a child. So let's see if he's right. We have a cup of water and 1.5 tablespoons of glutinous rice flour. Turn our heat up to high. Take just a little bit of the water and create a slurry so that when it goes into the pan, it's not going to clump up. We're going to add our water. Now we're going to add our slurry mixture. And start stirring. Let this heat up for about 2 minutes until it starts to thicken and bubble up. It's like magic. And that took about 2 minutes to get this thick. You were saying that your grandparents made fermented soybean paste when you were growing up. Did they ever make radish kimchi?
We prefer this cabbage kimchi, so they made a lot of the cabbage kimchi.
Now we're gonna cut the radish and cut it into about 1/2-inch slices. If you cut it thinner than this, then it's going to ferment quicker. If you cut it thicker, then it's going to take a longer time to ferment. And from here you can cut it in half one more time. This is actually a roasting bag. I'm not sure if there are other bags you can find, but this is what I was able to find, and you're going to put all of the radishes in here. I put some gloves on to protect my hands through this process because we have the pepper. 5 tablespoons of the coarsely ground gochugaru. 5 tablespoons of the finely ground red pepper. 8 tablespoons of the anchovy fish sauce. 1 tablespoon of salt, 6 tablespoons of sugar, 4 tablespoons of Sprite, 8 tablespoons of finely minced garlic, and the glutinous rice mixture. Now we're going to mix this well with our hands. Keep mixing this another minute because he says you need to keep massaging it. I'm going to take the ends. This is very messy. He did it a lot more neatly in his video, but you have to take all the air out. Push it down. And then once he got the air out, he kind of twirled it around. My nice and tight. And he did a loose knot so that eventually you can reopen this. Turn it over because there's a lot of sauce that got on the bottom and you want that to get on top. So now he also says you need to give the radish a massage. I wish I could have a massage. This doesn't go into the refrigerator. It stays at room temperature for 10 days. Depending on the temperature of your home, it could be less time if it's hotter. If it's hotter and the kimchi starts to get a sour smell, apparently at that point, put it in the refrigerator. So for this one, we'll be trying this in 10 days. Now we're gonna make Paik Jongwon's recipe. The way that he cuts his radish is into small rectangles. You use 2/3 cup of sugar, mix that with the radish. Basically, his first step is to pickle the radish, but first you have to really get in there. Hands are nice and exfoliated from massaging that with the sugar. The next thing you want to do is add 1/3 cup of salt. And again, you want to massage the radish really well. It's going to take a few minutes to really get it nice and coated. I can already feel the water coming out. We're using about half of the radish that Paik Jongwon has in his recipe, which is why I reduced the salt. I maybe should have reduced the sugar, but... And every 15 minutes, you're going to mix the radish again and distribute the salt around. And eventually, this is supposed to get softened. And once it's softened, then we can move on to the next step. You can already see that the radish has lost some volume since I started to mix it. It's been about 30 minutes and the radish is still pretty firm. So we're gonna let this sit for another 30 minutes, but first I'm gonna mix the radish around and distribute the salt and sugar. As you can see, a lot of water has come out of the radishes. Now we're gonna make the sauce. And in the sauce you have finely minced garlic, 1/4 cup of finely minced ginger, and about 2 cups of Korean green onion, which is daeba. 1/3 of a cup of salted shrimp.
Dry shrimp.
Which we've soaked. 1/2 cup of anchovy fish sauce. 1/4 cup of salt. 1 cup of white sugar. And we're gonna mix this together with our hands. Like JohnCook's video, Paik Jongwon also makes a glutinous rice flour mixture, and for his he uses 3 tablespoons of glutinous rice flour and 2 cups of water. Again, I'm making a slurry with the flour and the water, and I'm going to add this to some warm water. Stir this up until it gets thickened. And at this phase, I'm going to add the coarse gochugaru and finely ground red pepper. We're going to use 1 cup of each. Coarsely ground gochugaru has been soaked. Finely ground red pepper. And then he mixes this until it gets into a thicker paste. This This recipe so far feels a little bit more involved than John Cook's recipe. I'm going to admit that. It's more work.
I hope it tastes better.
I hope it's worth it.
Yep.
Just put the heat up a little bit just to see if this can start to get more thickened quicker. Oh my goodness, this is taking a long time to get thick like he had in his video. I wonder if we let this cool, if it'll thicken once it cools. We're gonna see what stage this radish is in to see if it's ready for the next step. And so when I pick this up and I try and bend it, it bends, but it doesn't break, and it's kind of soft like a marshmallow. So that's the perfect texture that it's supposed to be. So I put the radish into a colander, and I'm gonna dump out this salty, sugary water. And I'm gonna put the radish in here and get some water in and start to mix this around a little bit.
I think it really depends on your preference. If you like, more salty radish, you can just, take it out right now. But, I like to be less salty, so that's why we'll rinse a couple more times. Let's try one more.
Okay. Try that one.
This is it. This is it.
We're going to mix the vegetable, shrimp, and fish sauce into the glutinous rice and pepper sauce. And Paik Jongwon in his video dips his finger into this to taste it. And so I want to let you do the honors of dipping your pinky finger into this and giving it a taste.
By the way, I just washed my hands, so it's clean. Oh, it's very nice. This is good.
It's a good one. It was worth all the effort.
Yes, so far it is.
So far so good. Now we're ready to mix it up. We're gonna take all the radish, put it in the bag. He uses a Tupperware, but we don't have as big a Tupperware as he has, so we're gonna use a bag like JohnCook did. Take the sauce and dump it in. Lovely. And he puts a little bit more of the finely ground red pepper. So this is a little less than half a cup that we're gonna add. We're doing about a half recipe anyway. And now we're gonna mix it up. And you want to massage this for about 5 minutes or so.
Paik Jongwon's radish kimchi is, you try to eat when it's fresh and crunchy. His nickname is Korean version of Ramsay.
Gordon Ramsay?
Yes. He's very popular in Korea. The other YouTubers, kimchi, its main purpose is usually eat with the beef broth with rice together. Korean people prefer more sour radish kimchi instead of crunchier. So it's all the same kimchi, it's just slightly different purposes.
Now I'm gonna seal this up by letting all the air out and then twist it around. Make it into a knot that you can easily open up later on. I'm gonna do what we did with JohnCook's and just turn it over a little bit. There's a lot of sauce in here. It's pretty saucy all around, actually. And then I'm gonna put this into a pot right here. And this is going to stay at room temperature for 1 to 2 days, and then it's gonna be put into the refrigerator.
4 hours later, we're still here. It takes a long time, but we're very proud of ourselves. We finally get done, and we're almost there. I am holding JohnCook's radish kimchi. I will let this sit out in a room temperature for at least 10 days. Hers is Paik Jongwon's recipe, and we just let it sit out for 1 day in room temperature. and then we're gonna see who the winner is in 10 days. That concludes our video. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Bye!